go back to normal.
Okay, Sally, thanks very much indeed. Well, bearing in mind that it is not yet all clear, nonetheless, let's reflect on the impact this has had. I'm joined now by Peter Townsend from Ensign Consultancy to look at the problem that's been faced here. Peter, thanks for joining us. I mean, goodness me, one ship, 6 days of mayhem, all over the incapacity of the canal, I suppose, to arrange a salvage system.
Yes, I mean, firstly, I'd like to praise the salvors because I think they've done an extraordinary job thus far. Still a lot to do, I would think. I've heard reports that she may be holding, and which may affect her stability. No danger of going over, I don't think, but it may give her a little list, which will give added problems for the discharging of the containers, were that to be the case. I mean, just to give you some feel for this, if you laid all the containers from this ship, one behind the other, it'd stretch for over 50 miles.
Yeah, we get a sense. I mean, it is an absolutely vast vessel. We understand that. But what do you do to avoid one ship creating this much mayhem in such a critical stretch of water? I mean, is there a ready answer to that?
Well, accidents happen, and you can't stop. We've had previous incidents, though. A vessel called the MSC Fabiola in 2016 partially blocked the canal for 4 or 5 days. The key really is the speed of response and the speed to remove the vessel from the scene.
And what would you say, on the basis of what you've seen, has been the ability to do that?
Well, I think they've done a fantastic job for the size of the vessel. I mean, the big issue really, and which would have been game-changing, was if the containers needed to have been discharged. Because essentially you've got a ship with maybe 10 or 11 layers of containers under deck, 10 or 11 layers of containers on deck. Essentially, you've got a 20-storey high building at sea, and the only way you can get those containers off is vertically.
Right, yeah. So
there are no cranes, very few cranes with the height and the reach in the world to deal with this.
So is this a case, Pete, sorry to interrupt, is this a case of basically biting off more than they can chew? These vessels are too big for the Suez Canal.
I think all of the cost effectiveness of carrying containers is on these bigger ships. The cost per box mile shipped is around about half of what it would be on a much smaller ship. So all the reasons for building ships are very evident, but what hasn't been built in is the salvageability of them. Let's just take a car. With a car, you have airbags in. You don't expect ever to use the airbags, but they're there. We've got no ability to discharge containers from container ships at sea. 10 years ago, we had a vessel called the Rena, which grounded off New Zealand. She was a quarter of the size of this one. She's broken up because she was there on a reef for so long, in a fairly remote place, admittedly. But 2 years after that vessel grounded, they still hadn't got all the containers off.
Wow.
So that's the challenge we've got. And we've got ships now which are 4, 5 times the size of that ship that they couldn't discharge then.
Yeah, so I suppose sorry, I'm going to have to cut it short, Peter, but from this perspective, they will be counting themselves lucky that it's only taken 6 or 7 days, possibly. Peter, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your time.